Welcome to the Candidate Forum for Los Angeles County Superior Court, Office Number 39, presented by the League of Women Voters of Los Angeles County. I am Margot Rieg, one of the co-presidents of the League of Women Voters of Los Angeles County, which is composed of 10 local leagues. We are a nonpartisan grassroots organization working to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. We empower voters and defend democracy through advocacy, education, and litigation at the county, state, and national levels. We put on candidates forums as part of our voters service activity so that voters can hear from the candidates who are vying to represent them in county government. The Los Angeles Superior Court judges are elected locally or appointed by the governor to 6-year terms. In order to run for judge, a lawyer must be a member of the State Bar of California and have been in practice for at least 10 years. Leading up to the March primary, the League is conducting forums with all 9 contested judicial seats, which will be posted on YouTube. The moderator for our forum today is Dolores Gonzalez Hayes. She is a member of the Whittier League of Women Voters. Dolores has held positions as Senior Policy Advisor to a member of Congress, Executive Director and Policy Director in the nonprofit sector, National Community Development Manager of a national bank, and a housing director in local government. Each of our candidates has agreed to the League's rules, which require that they speak only about themselves and adhere to our time limits. We thank our candidates today, Rhonda Dixon, Jacob Lee, Steve Napolitano, and George Turner, for their participation in this candidate forum. Dolores?
Thank you, Margot, and welcome candidates to today's forum. We will begin with your opening statements in alphabetical order, and you have 1 minute. We will begin with Rhonda Dixon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rhonda Dixon. I'm running for seat number 39 in the Los Angeles County Superior Court judge race. I'm an attorney who has practiced law for 36 years. I attended Pitzer College. I graduated from UC Davis. I worked at the appellate division of the DA's office, which means that when cases go up on appeal, I would be the one to review those cases and do the research and assist with the writing of appellate briefs. I also externed for a federal judge, the Honorable Raul Ramirez. And at that point, so I worked with a judge, and I know what judges do because we had to write opinions and then go talk to the judge and then go through those opinions. I stand for restorative justice. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, in South Central Los Angeles, and I have always been active in my community. On the way to school, I found 2 dead bodies that were overdosed on heroin. Since that time, I became very strongly convicted that I had to help my community. So I started, okay.
We'll hear more later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Jacob Lee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jacob Lee. I'm running for judge for 2 reasons. One is because I want to be a voice for justice, and I want to be a voice for all people in LA County. Now, I have been a voice for justice for over a decade as a deputy district attorney in 2 different counties. My career started 2 years as a deputy district attorney in the Fresno County District Attorney's Office, and my remaining time in the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. The reason I became a DA to begin with has a lot to do with my upbringing. I was born in South Korea, and I immigrated to Los Angeles at the age of 1. When my parents immigrated here, shortly thereafter, unfortunately, they were robbed multiple times. My mother twice, my father once at gunpoint. I was actually with my mother in one of those robberies, but I was too young to remember it. When I grew up later, they told me what happened. They told me that they never reported the crimes. That made me realize there needs to be change, and I need to be a voice for people like my parents who are intimidated by the criminal justice system. And I can do that as judge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve Napolitano.
Thank you. My name is Steve Napolitano, and I've been an attorney for more than 20 years. I currently serve as a state-appointed attorney for inmates appearing before the Board of Parole. I've done hundreds of hearings, which has given me insight into the causes of crime and what it takes to turn people away from it. I also serve as an administrative law judge and hearing officer for cities and counties for municipal code violations. I weigh evidence, make written decisions, and impose fines when necessary, just like judges do. That means I'm an experienced decision maker, not just an advocate for one side or another. But I'm also more than an attorney. I've been in public service for more than 30 years. I'm serving my 5th term on the Manhattan Beach City Council. I served communities throughout LA County for 12 years as senior deputy to LA County Supervisor Don Knappe. I believe in both consequences and compassion. I want to make the law work for all of us. I believe we need more judges with diverse backgrounds who know our communities, who have worked with both victims and criminals, and who have the experience to know what works and what doesn't. That's who I am. That's why I'm running for judge. Thank you.
Thank you. George Turner.
Good afternoon. I'm George Turner. It's a lot to say in a very short period of time, so I'll give you a little bit about my background. I'm born and raised in Inglewood, California. I attended public school throughout my formal education, including Morningside High School, graduated valedictorian there, went to UCLA undergrad, graduated Phi Beta Kappa and summa cum laude, and then I went on to UCLA Law School. I've been a public defender for the last 16 years. I practice all sorts of criminal defense law, including handling trials in Compton, Airport, Inglewood, and the Central Court. I've also worked in the juvenile court. I currently am the deputy in charge of the homeless mobile unit, where I help to clear the records of our unhoused neighbors. And I'm honored for the opportunity to speak to the League of Women Voters more about my candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your opening statements. It allowed us to learn more about your candidacy. Now we come to the question and answer part of the candidates forum. You will have 1 minute for your answer. And the first question goes to Jacob Lee. And the question is a 2-part question, and is this: what is your theory of punishment? What role do you see for rehabilitation and treatment as an option other than confinement, and rehabilitation within confinement in jail or prison in the criminal justice system? Mr. Lee.
Yes, thank you for the question. I believe I offered the most balanced view on justice. Although I'm a prosecutor, and I have been for over a decade, and I've been fighting for victims and their family members, I also had the unique ability to be what is called a calendar DA in my office. That's typically a senior position in our office where the DA makes the offer on various serious and violent felonies, whether to recommend or have the offer be state prison, jail, or probation with no jail time and diversion. I'm probably one of the youngest calendar DAs in my office, and I've been doing that for over 2 years. And every single day, today morning, as a matter of fact, the majority of my cases, I'm giving defendants second chances because I believe they deserve it. Because I understand that you can't simply put a Band-Aid on crime. Crime is a symptom, and you need to get to the root cause of why these offenders are committing crimes in the first place. That often involves mental health treatment, drug treatment, vocational training. And I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Napolitano.
Thanks. And well, being a parole attorney for lifers, I absolutely believe in rehabilitation. I've seen it, I've argued for it up close and personal in our prisons. Punishment has its place, but we literally and figuratively can't afford to just punish folks without providing the support and services they need to rehabilitate themselves. My clients have to take self-help, they have to stay discipline-free, they have to change their thinking, they have to go before the parole board to prove that they've done it. And for those who do it, there's a less than 3% chance of recidivism. I also believe in diversion programs, and we need more of them for low-level offenders, but they also need consequences if they don't meet their treatment milestones. Unfortunately, it's the short-term offenders that cycle in and out of prison because they don't have to meet milestones or make any real change before they get out. I'd like to see any reduction in sentences tied to taking many of the same programs and services that lifers have to do, along with an exit exam before they're let out early.
Thank you very much. Mr. Turner.
I believe that the law has changed significantly with regard to this particular issue. We spent a significant amount of money over the last 50 years in putting people in prisons and in cages for low-level crimes, and for treating the sort of outcomes as opposed to the actual symptoms. Now that the law has changed and there are so many other opportunities for things like diversion, for things like keeping people out before they're convicted, like providing counseling and housing and things of that nature, it's time to start applying so many of those laws to make them real, to actually give a substantive opportunity toward restorative justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dixon.
Yes. So I ran a substance abuse clinic for 7 years. So I really believe in restorative justice, and I've seen the power of restorative justice. And I've been able to help people to recover and put their lives back together. My theory of punishment, though, is that the punishment should fit the crime. If the crime is a heinous crime, I'm definitely going to make sure that the punishment fits the crime and the public is protected. However, if there is an opportunity for a second chance and I feel there's some rehabilitation, I always seek mental health, diversion, and substance abuse treatment for my clients. And I think that rehabilitation and treatment works. I think we should connect people to services that they need, like housing and treatment. I don't think that people should be put in prison for excessive amounts of times with excessive enhancements if no one was killed, if no one was molested or raped. And I don't see 25-year to life sentences, but I see those every day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. The next question is also a two-part question. And the first person to speak to that will be Mr. Napolitano, and that would be for 1 minute. The question is, overall, do you feel the criminal justice system works fairly and effectively in Los Angeles County? If not, why not? Do you think Los Angeles County courts do a good job of handling civil cases? If not, why not? Mr. Napolitano.
Well, the criminal justice system isn't just one thing, it's several things that have to work together. Law enforcement, the district attorney's office, defense attorneys, and the courts. Is it working well? I'll just say I think it's worked better. Right now, there are several cities, including my own, that have sued over the current blanket policies adopted by the district attorney's office, and I agree that those policies are an issue for our communities as a matter of both perception and reality. That said, if you want to make the criminal justice system work better, we need to do more to keep people out of it to begin with. Abuse, neglect, poverty, addiction. These are just some of the issues we all need to address to keep people out of the system. As for civil cases, it's a story of the haves and have-nots. If you're very rich, you can afford to sue or defend yourself. If you're very poor, there's legal aid. But for the vast majority of folks in the middle that can't afford to sue or be sued, I think our courts need to do more to provide resources and programs to help folks deal with lawsuits without having to go broke.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
I think that there is, a significant amount of room for improvement in our current criminal legal system. If you look at the facts over the last half century, the state has built 23 prisons and 3 colleges. We have 6,500 people currently in custody who haven't been convicted of anything. That's larger than the incoming class at UCLA. There are a lot of things that can be done to change our criminal legal system. I think that part of the reason why I'm running is because we have to address those specific issues. We need to get off of this idea that we can put people in cages and that'll fix things. It's proven not to work. We can't afford it. With regard to civil issues, I think that there are a host of ways in which we can sort of make the court a place of healing and a place of having your voice heard, and try to get sort of money out as a barrier to having your voice heard and having your case defended. So yeah, there's a lot of different options on that.
Thank you. Ms. Dixon.
Good morning. I have practiced both areas of law, criminal and civil. And what I find, starting with criminal, there's a lot of room for improvement. The fact that over 20,000 people are waiting for resentencing and they're just sitting basically in cages waiting for resentencing. That's because the only people that can do that based on the law is the judge that originally sentenced them, the DA, or the public defender. But a private attorney such as myself cannot assist them in getting resentenced. Even though they are eligible to get out of jail, they cannot. There's the issue of the housing in the jails. It's very substandard. It's I believe a matter of cruel and unusual punishment. I actually have a lawsuit against the county based on that. There are a lot of people being warehoused. They're not. They're in between charges, and they're not being able to get bail. On the civil side, I think that it's. I agree with Mr. Napolitano. It really is a shame that people can't get. They can't sue. Middle class people can't sue, and people that are poor and indigent are also discriminated against in the civil court system.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Yes, thank you for the question. Absolutely, both civil and criminal can be done better. On the criminal side, the main issue is that courts need to have better, or every partner in the justice system, that includes law enforcement, the DA's office, and even judges. We need a better way to interact with each other. So, for example, with the DA's office, needs to have a good relationship with law enforcement to make sure that they have the same vision about what types of crimes are prosecuted and how to go about them. And court systems need also good relationships with various programs so that we can have efficient release of offenders into these programs. And also judges need to hold attorneys hold their feet to the fire and make sure they're working hard and diligently and making sure cases move expeditiously. And for judges to be able to do that, they need to be experts on the subject being addressed in that court. And that's why I believe I can be that judge who can make the court efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Following question for all of you, and it will be answered first by Rhonda Dixon. The question is, to what extent have you practiced criminal law, family law, complex civil litigation, and what types of clients have you represented? Ms. Dixon.
I've practiced criminal law quite extensively. Right now, I have over 300 clients, and I'm a sole practitioner. In the family law area, I've dabbled in that a little bit. I do have some cases in family law right now. Sometimes they're restraining orders, but I also have a few divorce cases. I have to say it's not my favorite area of law because nobody's usually happy in that court with the outcome. With complex civil litigation, I started my career doing construction litigation, and I still do that on a contract basis. And that's usually very complex with, 20 different contractors and trying to figure out the source of why something leaked or why there's defects in the construction. That's very complex litigation. I've also litigated matters in the entertainment field. I used to represent people in the entertainment field, and I've litigated on matters where there were songs that there was millions of dollars at stake and was able to successfully settle that case. So I've represented people that are indigent as well as people that are wealthy. And I do as best, I do everything the same and as diligently as possible.
Thank you. Mr. George Turner.
I have been a public defender from the time that I graduated from law school unto this day. All of my clients, by the Constitution, are folks who are indigent and accused of a crime. In that capacity, I've also been able to work with juvenile clients, and the family court does get involved in those sort of cases. Many of those cases were cases of which there were issues between parents and their children, and that contributed to some of the issues that they had. So I have those are sort of my specific areas. Do not have as much of an experience in civil litigation specifically. However, I have been a part of a handful of smaller lawsuits, particularly with regard to an issue that I ran into in my law school with regard to the increased amount of tuition. Tuition doubled between my first and second year. So there was a small piece of litigation there, but my experience has primarily been with indigent clients over this last 16 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Lee.
Yes, thank you for the question. After graduating from law school, I pretty much went straight into becoming a deputy district attorney, aside from about 10 months where I worked for a law firm specializing in defending lawyers being disciplined by the state bar. So I do have some experience where ethics, legal ethics was our main subject matter. On top of that, during law school, I had the honor of externing for a federal judge, her name being the Honorable Margaret Morrow. She has since retired in 2016, but during that time, she was a civil judge in federal court. And I had the opportunity to research a lot of civil issues and kind of have a broader view of the various areas of law. And obviously during law school, where I graduated with honors, specifically in criminal justice concentration, but I also took all the classes necessary in the various subject matters to graduate and be barred in California. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Napolitano.
So after I graduated from law school, I started with a law firm that specialized in education, municipal law, and that ran the gamut of many different subjects: construction law, constitutional law, labor employment, special education, and more. And then I joined Supervisor Canavi's office, where I oversaw county counsel for him and advised him on legal matters the county was involved in. For the past several years, I've specialized in parole law, representing hundreds of inmates before the Board of Parole, and carried 40 to 60 cases at any one time. It's like a public defender for people already in prison. I prepare them, I go over the process with them, represent them in front of the board, which is made up of administrative law judges. I also deal in administrative law myself as a hearing officer for cities and counties, and in those cases, I act as a neutral third party. I get paid by different agencies. I don't represent one side or the other. I preside over the hearing, apply the law to the facts, and acts as the decision maker to whether someone's broken the rules or not, and what they have to pay in penalties, if anything.
Thank you. Following question. In the area of hate crimes, what are some of the issues in balancing free speech rights against the need to control offensive activity? And the question goes first to Mr. George Turner.
Hate crimes are very serious. And particularly in the area of criminal law, there are a variety of different statutes that definitely have an impact on to limit the sort of type of speech and type of impact that a speech can have on people who commit these sort of crimes. I do, however, think that that the First Amendment is a very important amendment. The ability to express yourself is a fundamental right in this state and also in this country, but it has to be balanced against, harm done to people. If your speech then leads into having a direct negative impact on another person, then that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rhonda Dixon.
Hate speech is obviously something that we want to control, but it's very difficult to control it because of the Constitution. We have this freedom of speech. And so, one justice once said on the Supreme Court regarding pornography, I know it when I see it. I wish we could say I know it when I hear it, but there's differing opinions on what hate speech is, and that's where the problem comes in. There's a chilling effect of the First Amendment. We do want to make sure that people have the right to respect to express themselves. But in California, there's things like anti-slap statutes and things like that. So when you try to sue somebody for defamation or for making, uncivilly, it's very difficult to prevail in that type of, even when we think it's hate speech, it's very difficult to prevail. So I think that there's some changes that need to be made in the law to make it easier to prosecute hate speech.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Steve Napolitano.
Thank you. And I don't think you're going to hear anyone say, yeah, hate speech. Everyone hates hate speech, but at the same time, it is protected. And a lot of speech is protected under the First Amendment, and the law in this area is pretty well settled by the Supreme Court. And as a judge, I'd be bound by those precedents. Beyond that, I really think in this matter, judicial ethics prevents any real discussion of a subject that might indicate how we would rule on a particular issue. So I think it's best to leave it at that. We're not supposed to take positions on this. Am I in favor of hate speech? No. Am I in favor of the First Amendment? Yes. But I'm going to be bound, like everyone else here, by the precedent set down by the Supreme Court.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Lee.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the question, and this question is a bit more personal to me because of my immigrant upbringing. You know, I have definitely growing up received a lot of hate speech, and that does affect you personally. And I understand how difficult it can be, especially for people who have been victims of that type of speech. But I also understand the importance of freedom of speech as well. And so the question always becomes, has it risen to the level of a crime? And that's why we need law enforcement and we need prosecutors who take this very seriously, understanding that it really does have a negative effect on our society. As a matter of fact, I spoke at a event catered specifically to the Asian community, where I was talking about hate crimes and about how people should respond when they are victims of hate crimes, or if they witnessed hate speech, which may not necessarily be a crime. So I do feel strongly about it. As a community, we need to take it seriously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question is, if you became aware of unethical conduct on the part of a trial advocate in a case in which you were presiding, how would you handle it? Do you believe judges should be required to report attorney misconduct? And it goes to Ms. Rhonda Dixon.
If I became aware of an attorney that was unprepared or had unethical conduct in my courtroom, the first thing I would do is request a sidebar discussion with the attorney to find out what's going on. And I would admonish them that they need to either they need to be more effective in that. I feel they're being ineffective with their client, and they either need to engage other counsel or they need to engage other counsel that's effective. They have to do a good job for their client. If it's a criminal matter, then they would have to substitute another attorney. And if it's a civil matter, even, I would still call them over and talk to them about the effectiveness of their client. I do believe that judges are required to report to the state bar when they find that that someone is behaving unethically, or that they are doing something inappropriate in their courtroom. I believe they do have an ethical duty to report.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Napolitano.
Thank you. Yes, judges absolutely have a duty to report attorney misconduct. I observed an attorney not acting in the best interest of their client or doing something unethical. I would call for a sidebar, as was said, advise them if they need to correct their actions, depending on the situation. But if an attorney were unprepared or was providing ineffective counsel, I'd tell them so and let them know they'll be reported to the state bar. That's the duty of all judges, and it's certainly something I would do.
Mr. Jacob Lee.
Yes, again, absolutely. The law requires that judges report unethical conduct by attorneys to the state bar. Having said that, it depends on the egregiousness of the violation. And certainly, if it can be cured by means of a sidebar, as my other colleague suggested, that's certainly the first corrective action. But if it's unavoidable that it has risen to the level where the judge needs to report it to the state bar, I would have no problem doing that, because more important than anything else is to ensure that the rights of the accused and the rights of everyone else in the courtroom are upheld. Because a court needs to be fair, and attorneys who really need to know better and be better educated need to understand that they can't be unethical. And it's very important for judges to take corrective action. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. George Turner.
Yes, I think that it is very clear and undisputed that if a bench officer witnesses something that is unethical, rises to the level of it being unethical, it is their duty as someone on the bench to report it. I think that there is a significant amount of gray area, however, in what is deemed inappropriate in a courtroom. I think that really comes with experience in being in courtrooms to determine whether or not something is to determine whether or not it is someone using a strategy that inures benefits to their client, or something that makes a court uncomfortable, So yes, if something rises to the level of unethical or ineffective, then it is absolutely the responsibility of the bench officer to do so, to report, to first admonish and advise, and then report. But it takes a sort of a certain level of experience, background to be able to observe that and properly assess it.
Thank you very much. Now we come to the concluding statements by each candidate, and each of you have 1 minute. And we will begin with Mr. George Turner.
So I want to say first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity. Every time that I speak to a group such as this, I want to say thank you for making democracy real. I am not someone who is a regular candidate, and I am really thankful for this opportunity. I also want to apologize for having drunk coffee during this time. It's actually tea. I'm actually suffering from a bit of a migraine. I'm running for seat number 39. And I believe that it is time to sort of update who is on the bench, and it is time to really apply some of these laws, some of these ameliorative laws that we've organized and passed into law. When you walk to the laws have changed, but the court hasn't changed. And the reason why the court hasn't changed is because the people who are on the bench aren't applying the modern laws and the current laws. And that's what I like the opportunity to do. I also believe that it's important to have a diverse background on the bench, and I am someone who's deeply engrossed into the community, and I think that would be a great representation. Thank you for this opportunity again.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Napolitano.
Thank you, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. Not enough people cover the judge races, so I really appreciate this, because if the last couple of years has taught us anything, it's that judges matter. I have no doubt that all of us running for the seat have the legal experience to serve well as a judge. But being a judge is about more than just the law. It's about life and how experience informs decisions. And I think that's the choice here. What makes a better judge? Someone whose experience is informed by basically doing one thing, or someone whose experience is informed by doing many things? I'm not your traditional candidate for judge, and I think that's a good thing. Besides being an attorney, I've got over 30 years of experience dealing with what matters most to our communities. I've done it with integrity, fairness, and respect for all. I've done these things as a decision maker, not just as an advocate. Now I want to take the pragmatic decision making I've applied in my legal and political careers and apply that as a judge on the LA Superior Court. But I can't do it alone. I need your vote. I appreciate your consideration. If you need more information or want to contact me, please visit my website at stevenapolitano.com. And thanks very much.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Lee.
Again, thank you so much for setting this up. I really appreciate giving us a platform to be able to share our story and our background. I'm very grateful to have the endorsement of 48 currently sitting judges in the LA Superior Court. They put their reputation on the line to endorse me because they've seen me in court. They've seen me in court over numerous years, and they understand that I have the judicial temperament, the work ethic, and the diligence and the mindset, the proper mindset to be a good judge on the bench. And very important is what I said earlier, which is that I do believe I have the most balanced view on justice, where I understand what it means to fight for justice for victims of crime, but I also know what it means to give people second chances because of my own immigrant upbringing, the struggles I went through as well, and the struggles I've seen my friends and family members and strangers go through. And so I believe I can be fair and compassionate because my life has made me that way. And I want LA to be a safe place. I have 2 children. I want them to grow up in a safe LA. And right now we have a very big decision to make. The judges we elect matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rhonda Dixon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. I really want to thank the League of Women Voters. We need more women on the bench. We need a different perspective. A lot of the people that are being prosecuted, they're someone's son, someone's husband, someone's brother. And we need a perspective where we get to look at everything. Not every judge will be placed by the presiding judge on the criminal bench. Everybody seems to presume and really emphasize the criminal bench, but we need a breadth of experience, not just criminal. We need civil, family law. I've done landlord tenant, immigration. We need a more balanced view. And I think that if we want to keep getting the same results, then we keep doing the same thing that we've been doing. But if we want to actually get some progress, then we need to change. And the change starts now. Elect me as judge, and that will put a diverse view on the bench. I stand for restorative justice. I believe in second chances. I believe that people should be looked at not just as a criminal or a litigant, but as a person. Vote for Rhonda Dixon. Look at my website, RhondaDixonForJudge.com. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your concluding statements. Margot?
I had to turn my mic back on. And I would like to thank all of you for making time to participate in this candidate forum, which will be posted on YouTube and linked to the League of Women Voters of Los Angeles County website, which is www.lwvlacounty.org. The League of Women Voters also provides a free website for all candidates for county and other offices on the March primary. It is called Vote 411. And I encourage all of the candidates to make sure that their profile is complete on Vote 411. This is a website designed to help voters compare candidates who are running for a specific office. And voters, you can go to Vote 411, type in your own address, and access your ballot with each of the races that will be on it. And when all the candidates are participating, then you will have all the candidates to compare on that website, and you can actually record your choices if you'd like. So thank you again. I appreciate all of you. We understand that judicial offices are about the hardest ones to make a decision on, and it really helps to see faces, hear people talk when they're under pressure, and learn more about them before we cast our ballots. So thank you again very much, and thank you to the League staff.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.